June 2012. A package arrives at a political office in Canada. What investigators discover inside immediately triggers a national emergency. At the center of the investigation is a man who spent years chasing fame, attention, and internet notoriety. But what began as online controversy would soon become one of the most infamous manhunts in Canadian history. A case involving social media, international police cooperation, internet detectives, and a suspect who seemed determined to stay in the spotlight. This is the story of Luka Magnotta. Long before his name appeared in headlines around the world, Luka Magnotta was actively seeking public attention. He appeared in online forums, posted countless photographs, and attempted to build a public image through various internet platforms. Friends and acquaintances would later describe someone deeply concerned with fame and recognition. Over time, online communities began noticing unusual activity connected to him. Rumors, controversies, and strange online behavior attracted increasing attention. But at that point, few could have imagined how serious the situation would eventually become. As the years passed, his online presence grew larger, and so did the concerns surrounding it. By 2012, events were about to take a shocking turn. In May 2012, authorities in Montreal began investigating a disturbing homicide. The victim was a young international student named June Lin. As investigators worked to understand what had happened, evidence quickly pointed toward Luka Magnotta. The case attracted immediate media attention. Police launched a major investigation. But there was one enormous problem. The suspect was gone. Before authorities could arrest him, he had already left the country. What followed became one of the largest international manhunts Canada had seen in years. Investigators now faced a race against time. They needed to locate a suspect who was moving across international borders, while global media coverage intensified by the day. One of the most unusual aspects of this case involved ordinary people on the internet. Months before the homicide investigation became international news, groups of online users had been tracking Luka Magnotta's activities. These amateur investigators spent countless hours analyzing photographs, videos, backgrounds, and online clues. They compared locations, examined timestamps, and connected information from multiple websites. Many believed authorities should take the situation more seriously. At the time, few people paid attention, but after the homicide investigation began, those online communities suddenly found themselves at the center of a global story. Their earlier concerns now appeared far more significant. The case demonstrated something rarely seen before, a situation where internet users had identified warning signs long before the wider public became aware. As investigators gathered evidence, police agencies around the world joined the search. The suspect's movements became international news. Reports placed him in multiple countries. Authorities tracked leads across Europe. News organizations provided constant updates. Every new development generated global headlines. Then came the breakthrough. In June 2012, Luka Magnotta was located in Berlin, Germany. According to reports, he was recognized in an internet cafe. Local authorities moved quickly. The manhunt that had captured international attention was finally over. After weeks of uncertainty, police had their suspect in custody, but many questions still remained, and the legal process was only beginning. The trial became one of the most closely watched criminal proceedings in recent Canadian history. Prosecutors presented evidence gathered during the investigation. Defense attorneys raised questions regarding mental health and criminal responsibility. Media outlets from around the world covered every stage of the proceedings. Public interest remained intense. For many Canadians, the case represented a turning point in discussions surrounding internet culture, online fame, and the influence of social media. In 2014, Luka Magnotta was found guilty of first-degree murder and several related offenses. He received a life sentence, with no possibility of parole, for 25 years. The verdict brought an end to a case that had dominated headlines across multiple countries. More than a decade later, the Luka Magnotta case remains one of the most discussed criminal investigations in Canadian history, not only because of the crime itself, but because of the many questions it raised. Questions about internet fame, questions about warning signs, questions about how online behavior can evolve into something far more serious. It was a case that connected digital communities, international law enforcement agencies, and millions of people following the story from around the world. For many, it remains a reminder that behind online personas can exist realities far different from what appears on a screen. And it remains one of the most extraordinary manhunts Canada has ever seen. This is Canada Uncovered. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more Canadian true crime stories, mysteries, and investigations, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that actually happened.